December 23rd, 1998. Just 2 days before Christmas, the world was moving fast. People were shopping, laughing, preparing for joy. But inside one quiet hospital room, time stood still. Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't out celebrating. He wasn't decorating a tree or wrapping gifts. He was slipping into a hospital bed beside a woman who was dying. A woman who used to be his, but wasn't anymore, at least not officially. Her name was Michelle Thomas, and in those final hours of her life, he wasn't her ex-boyfriend. He was the person she trusted most to help her cross that invisible line between this world and whatever comes next. They hadn't been together for years. Most people would have kept their distance, maybe sent flowers, maybe made a quiet phone call, but Malcolm wasn't most people. And Michelle wasn't just another relationship he left behind. Their history wasn't the kind that fades when romance ends. No, this was something that lived far beyond labels. According to those closest to Michelle, she had loved Malcolm with more depth than anyone she had ever known. So when her body began to fail, it wasn't a question of who she wanted nearby. It was always going to be him. She died at just 30 years old, young, radiant, full of promise. And Malcolm didn't just lose a former partner that night. He lost the very definition of love. For the rest of his life, every decision, every crossroad, every moment of doubt, he'd hold it up against the invisible standard of Michelle. What would she do? How would she carry herself? Her memory became a compass. And even as the years wore on, her voice lived in his head, quiet, steady, always pointing north. 3 days ago, Malcolm drowned while vacationing in Costa Rica. He was 54. And for those who knew what Michelle meant to him, that news didn't feel like just the end of a life. It felt like the closing chapter of a love story that never really had an ending until now. Michelle Thomas wasn't just another actress with a pretty face and a famous last name. Though yes, she had both. Her father was Dennis D.D. Thomas, one of the founding members of Kool and the Gang. Her mother was a stage actress. So yeah, showbiz ran in her blood. But there was something else about Michelle, something deeper. She had an unusual kind of gravity. Even as a teenager, when most were chasing attention or image, Michelle carried herself like someone who knew she was born with a purpose. By 15, she was already a pageant queen and appearing on Soul Train. But beneath all that sparkle was a sharp mind, a spiritual backbone, and a sense of responsibility. She didn't just want to be famous. She wanted her platform to mean something. And then came The Cosby Show. She landed the role of Justine Phillips, Theo Huxtable's girlfriend. That's where she and Malcolm really started to orbit each other. Their chemistry on screen was undeniable. But what people didn't see was the quiet intimacy growing behind the scenes. The long conversations, the shared values, the way they challenged each other to become better. Their relationship wasn't flashy. It wasn't about fame or clout. It was built on substance. They laughed a lot. They talked even more. They dreamt out loud together. And for 6 years, they were each other's person, not just in love, but in friendship, in purpose, in growth. Even after the romantic chapter ended in 1994, they didn't cut ties. That's rare. In Hollywood, the exes vanish, but not these two. They evolved instead. The love stayed, just changed shape. They became each other's constants. Michelle went on to light up screens as Myra Monkhouse on Family Matters, playing opposite Jaleel White. And again, she brought so much depth, heart, and warmth to a role that could have been played one-dimensionally. People adored her. So did her co-stars. So did Malcolm. He was always quietly rooting for her. By 1998, Michelle was hitting a stride. She had just joined The Young and the Restless, taking on her most serious acting role to date. She was also working on music. Things were aligning. The universe seemed to be saying, "Your time is now." But life had other plans. In August 1997, everything changed. Michelle was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive cancer, intra-abdominal desmoplastic small round cell tumor. No one could make sense of it. She lived a clean life. No smoking, no drinking. She was vegetarian. She worked out. She did everything right. But cancer doesn't always care about checklists. Her first surgery in early 1998 removed a large tumor, and for a moment, there was hope. She went back to work. She filmed scenes. She smiled. She joked. She kept fighting, but the disease came back stronger. And by the fall, it was clear this wasn't a battle she was going to win with strength alone. And that's when Malcolm showed up, not as an obligation, not because anyone asked, but because he loved her. Because even after everything, she was still his person. He became a quiet warrior in her corner, not seeking praise, just present. Michelle remained the light in every room, even as her body failed. She made jokes. She offered comfort to others. Imagine that. A woman facing death, still thinking about how to make people feel okay. That's who she was. When it got bad, Malcolm flew to New York and didn't leave her side. He slept in the hospital. He sat beside her bed, held her hand, spoke softly. In her final moments, she whispered elephant juice, their secret code for I love you. Malcolm responded with the same words, and when her heart stopped beating, he was right there beside her, holding her, crying, not ready to let go. She died on December 23rd, 1998, 30 years old, 2 days before Christmas. He was never the same after that. Malcolm's life took on a different shape after Michelle. He became more selective about the roles he took. He focused more on intention than visibility. He turned to spoken word, to activism, to music that carried messages. He won a Grammy. He wrote pieces that dealt with racism, injustice, the Black experience. He wasn't just making art, he was leaving impact. He didn't rush into marriage. He waited until he was 45. He once said he was looking for Claire and Cliff kind of love, a partnership that felt like purpose. That tells you how deeply The Cosby Show and his own relationship with Michelle shaped him. In 2017, he became a father, a moment of joy in a life filled with reflection. And it was Michelle's mother who called to offer congratulations. Their families had stayed close, even after decades. That's how much the bond meant. It wasn't just Malcolm and Michelle, it was everything around them too. Through all of it, Malcolm kept asking himself, what would Michelle do? He held onto her like a lighthouse. When things got stormy, he'd steer his life toward her memory. She became the North Star of his soul. And then, on July 20th, 2025, Malcolm passed away at the age of 54. He drowned while vacationing in Costa Rica. The news broke quietly at first, but for those who knew, really knew, this wasn't just the end of a man. It was the final act in a decades-long story of love, loss, and reunion. After 27 years of carrying her in his heart, he was finally with her again. Some love stories never get closure. They linger, they haunt. But this one came full circle. Michelle defined love for Malcolm, and he honored that love in the way he lived, quietly, purposefully, with integrity. Now, wherever they are, maybe they're laughing again. Maybe they're talking about the world. Maybe they're lying side by side, the way they were that night in the hospital. Only this time, there's no pain, no goodbye, no elephant juice, just forever.